In one of the last lectures, you saw me encode data in the URL and send data with a POST request. Let's better understand which ways of accessing data we have, and we will use them all throughout this course. On a request, we typically have a header and a content type, and the same is true for the response. We also get a body which might hold our data. Now on a request, we might access a URL which looks like this. Let's have a look at what we do have inside of this data, or how we can attach some data to that request. Well, what we don't see in the URL is, with a POST request for example, we can store data in the body, which is also part of the request. The body is not visible in the URL, but is something which is sent behind the scenes. And we already retrieved data from the body in the POST request we handled 2 lectures ago. We also got things we can see in the URL, like the request params here. Remember, we already also used params to retrieve data from the URL. And then we get this part which we haven't seen yet, after the question mark here. This is the request query, or the so-called query parameters. We can attach them to any request, they always come in the end, and the difference to the request params is they're not encoded in a specific place in the URL. So 5 here, if that were some ID, could only go after /user because we hard encoded with this colon in the URL. Question mark anything equals anything always comes in the end and allows us to pass some additional data, kind of optional data, to each request. In this course, you will see when we use that and how we use it to extract some data which might be present, but we're not sure if it is, and which also should be attached to multiple requests and therefore isn't hard-coded into the URL. Regarding data formats we can use, the typical format we will use in this course is JSON. JSON is a very lightweight format. It's basically a JavaScript object as a string, if you want to put it like that, and therefore it's able to encode a lot of data with a very little amount of characters, keeping it small. And since we use Node.js anyways, easy to be parsed. We use JavaScript objects all over the place, so why not send our data as one? You could also send plain text or a file, or of course URL encoded data, and for example a view, HTML code. But we won't do this in an Angular 2 and Node.js application. Here we will stick to JSON to exchange data behind the scenes, because always keep that in mind, we will never send a request and get back a response which leads to a reload of the page. We won't send HTML code from the server besides that initial loading of our index.hps file.